I never imagined Christmas would become the moment my heart finally broke. For 32 years, I was a mother before I was anything else. Before my job, before my friends, before my own dreams. Everything I did revolved around my son, Daniel. When his father walked out on us when Daniel was 6, I stayed. I worked double shifts, skipped meals, and learned how to stretch a paycheck so thin it could barely breathe. I promised myself one thing back then. No matter what happens, my son will always feel loved and safe. And for a long time, I believed I succeeded. Daniel grew up smart, confident, and ambitious. He went to college, built a career in finance, and married a woman named Rachel, polished, organized, and very clear about how she wanted her life to look. I told myself her coolness was just her personality. I tried not to notice how conversations grew shorter once she entered the room, or how holidays slowly became complicated. The house Daniel and Rachel lived in, the beautiful 2-story home with the white porch and tall windows, was still under my name. Years earlier, when Daniel couldn't qualify for a loan, I took out the mortgage myself. "Just until we're settled," he said. "You won't regret it, Mom." Every month, without fail, I paid that mortgage. Not because Daniel couldn't afford it anymore, he could, but because he never asked to take over and I never wanted to burden him. In my mind, it was my way of still protecting him. Christmas was always sacred to me. Even after Daniel married, I kept the same traditions. Homemade ornaments, cinnamon rolls on Christmas morning, old movies playing softly in the background. I assumed, foolishly, that this year would be no different. 2 weeks before Christmas, I called Daniel. "Sweetheart," I said, already smiling, "I was thinking of coming up on the 24th. I'll bring the old ornaments. Remember the wooden angel you made in kindergarten?" There was a pause on the line, a long one. Then he sighed. "Mom, actually, we weren't really expecting you this year." The words landed softly, but they cut deep. "Oh," I said, forcing a small laugh. "I didn't realize, I thought." "Rachel's parents are coming," he interrupted, "and it's just we want a quiet Christmas. You understand, right?" I waited for him to say something else, to soften it, to say maybe next year or we'll visit you soon, but nothing came. "I see," I replied quietly. He thanked me for understanding and ended the call quickly, as if the conversation were a chore he had finally crossed off his list. I sat at my kitchen table for a long time after that, staring at my phone. Around me were wrapped gifts I had already bought, things I knew Daniel would love. A scarf for Rachel, a little train set for their toddler, Evan. I didn't cry right away, that came later. That night, lying in bed, memories flooded back. Daniel at 8 years old, waiting up for me after my late shift. Daniel at 16, slamming doors but still asking me to proofread his essays. Daniel calling me from college homesick saying, "I don't know how you do everything, Mom." Somewhere along the way, I had become invisible. The next morning, I logged into my bank account to pay the mortgage, something I'd done hundreds of times before. My finger hovered over the screen. And for the first time, I asked myself a question I had avoided for years. Why am I still paying for a home where I'm no longer welcome? I wasn't angry. I wasn't plotting revenge. I was tired. Tired of being taken for granted. Tired of being the safety net no one acknowledged. So I didn't click pay. Instead, I canceled the payment. It felt strange, not triumphant, just final. Christmas came and went quietly. I spent it alone, volunteering at a local shelter in the morning and eating a simple dinner by myself at night. I didn't post photos. I didn't call Daniel. I let the silence exist. 3 weeks later, my phone rang. "Mom," Daniel's voice was sharp with panic. Did you miss the mortgage payment?" "I canceled it," I said calmly. "What? Why would you do that? You know that affects everything." I took a deep breath. "Daniel, you told me I wasn't expected for Christmas. That made me realize something. I'm not expected in your life the way I thought I was." "That's not fair," he snapped. "It was just one holiday." One holiday was enough, I replied, because it showed me how easily I can be pushed aside. Rachel took the phone then. This is incredibly irresponsible, she said coldly. You can't just stop paying. I can, I answered. It's my mortgage, my name, my responsibility, and my choice. There was silence on the other end. I'm not doing this to hurt you, I continued. I'm doing it because I need boundaries. If I'm only welcome when I'm useful, that's not love. Daniel's voice softened. Mom, we didn't mean it like that. I know, I said, but intentions don't erase impact. A week later, Daniel showed up at my door alone. He looked different, tired, smaller somehow. I messed up, he admitted, sitting at my kitchen table, the same one where I'd cried weeks earlier. I let things slide. I assumed you'd always be there, always understand. I nodded. I raised you to be independent. I didn't raise you to forget me. He swallowed hard. Rachel and I talked. We're taking over the mortgage completely, and we want you in our lives, not just when it's convenient. I studied his face. I wanted to believe him, but trust, once cracked, takes time to mend. I'm willing to try, I said, but things have to change. They did slowly, imperfectly. Daniel calls more now, sometimes just to ask how my day was. Rachel is still distant, but she's respectful. And this year, Christmas plans were discussed early. Please come, Daniel said. We want you there. I said yes, but this time it was my choice. Canceling that mortgage payment wasn't about money. It was about finally valuing myself as much as I valued everyone else. Sometimes the bravest thing a parent can do is stop sacrificing and start standing still, letting others step forward if they truly care. And if they do, at least you finally chose yourself.